Gentleman yields back. The chair recognizes Mr. Hernandez for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and hi, Mr. Secretary. It's a pleasure to meet you and to have you here. So as Puerto Rico's representative, I value the unique and enduring relationship that Puerto Rico has with the United States. The U.S., I believe, must follow through on its commitments and obligations, whether those commitments are grounded in law and mutual consent, as they are in Puerto Rico's Commonwealth relationship, or in treaty obligations, like they are in the freely associated states. The Department of Interior manages the federal government's relationships with the free associated states and 4 U.S. territories. Notably, it does not exercise the same authority over the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, which has a greater extent of autonomy and self-government. As we review the department's budget and its allocations to the territories and freely associated states, I'm interested in what this tells us about how the federal government sees its responsibilities across these jurisdictions. So my first question would be, from the department's standpoint, are the freely associated states sovereign and independent nations?
Yes, that's why they're called freely associated states. But of course, we have a strong relationship and we have commitments to work with them.
Thank you. Citizens born in the freely associated states are not U.S. citizens. Would the department be open to exploring under future compacts extending birthright U.S. citizenship to the people of the freely associated states as it currently exists in, for example, Puerto Rico?
I think this is would be on a case-by-case basis. I couldn't make a broad generalization, but certainly we have a interest in building a stronger relationship as we can with the freely associated states.
So you wouldn't reject the possibility that in the future a freely associated state could have birthright U.S. citizenship?
I would not reject that personally, but I can't speak on behalf of the entire administration on that.
Is this something you've discussed in the context of Greenland?
I have not had any discussions about that birthright citizenship related to Greenland.
Have you had any discussions regarding the acquisition of Greenland and putting it under the jurisdiction of the Department of the Interior?
The discussions that have occurred in public about Greenland have suggested that one framework, if Greenland were to choose to be part of the United States, that the obvious step for them to become a territory at some point would be to start as a freely associated state. And so that is an existing framework that's been mentioned, but I've not been a part of any high-level discussions about implementation of that idea.
Got it. And now switching over to the 4 territories under the department's jurisdiction. The organic acts governing the relationship between the U.S. and these territories have not been revised in decades. Would the department support a process with the territories' consent to update these organic acts?
I think there's an opportunity to learn from experience, and I think that the dialogue about how to improve those relationships would be beneficial. These territories and the freely associated states all represent an opportunity to help increase national security, particularly those partners that in the Pacific, where, of course, we had American soldiers and sailors fought, died as part of that, and now we're in a position, in some cases, it feels like that we've got encroachment from China around those territories and freely associated states, and I think it's important that under this administration we pay more attention to those relationships.
And could future revisions of those organic acts, or in the case of the Mariana Islands, the covenants, would you value the mutual consent of the territories and Congress in developing these new organic acts?
Yeah, absolutely.
And beyond national security concerns, would you be open to exploring the possibility of expanding their self-government to the largest extent possible within the U.S. framework?
Again, I think that would be part of the dialogue. I don't know. I wouldn't. As I was as governor, I never agreed to a bill that I hadn't actually read. So hypothetically, I think it's great to have that conversation. But
and I think it's good to have this conversation because we've talked a lot about autonomy and sovereignty, and let's focus on function, right? If we can make these territories as functionally sovereign as possible while still remaining under U.S. jurisdiction, if that's their will, which I think it is, we should be open to exploring that. Since I'm almost out of time, I'd just like to quickly state that DOI has previously supported climate change planning in Puerto Rico and other insular areas through funding provided by the IRA. Unfortunately, that funding has now been indefinitely paused, so I hope that you and the department can help ensure that Puerto Rico and other insular areas are prepared for the next climate-driven disasters. Thank you.